Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. How y'all doing tonight? We are here for Hook Play-In number 1. I am Moonblaze Wolf. I am joined here in the commentary booth for a very crowded, but not as crowded as we're going to see later. We got 7 racers competing tonight. Hupfin is here in the booth. We are going to be doing our best to keep track of all the action for you here. And our restream runners tonight on Free Enterprise are JDP, Ikir, Lord Bobri, and Big Dunka, and they are also racing against not appearing on the stream. We have Commander Leonhardt, Vitasia, and Twisted Flax, who are racing over on RPG Limit Break, but they're all running in one race simultaneously that should be getting underway here for you in just a few minutes. Hupfin, how are you doing tonight?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. This is shaping up to be a nice little bit of chaos, the exact kind of match that we want to see as our runners head into the table phase of this tournament. We got some interesting objectives looking at this.
I mean, you say interesting, I say jet seed. This has jet seed written all over it. If this is a hook route, our runners don't need to do anything other than get through that hook route and find a way to Threemus to potentially finish the seed. But if that hook is buried somewhere and it's a magma key route, that is gonna make a huge difference. Or if the Legend Sorter Adamant are also hiding somewhere rude. So it looks like a jet seed. I wouldn't say for sure, but it definitely has that initial impression to it.
Yeah, this has the makings of something that could be very scary. You see 2 boss fight objectives on the overworld. You know everyone can take care of 2/3 of what they need to do right out of the gate. But from there, those key items that you need could be hidden virtually anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what our runners do, especially if this is a magma key seed. I know a lot of times we say that we're always rooting for a hook seed here on our Free Enterprise races. Not tonight, y'all. We want to see a magma key. We want to be held in suspense for as long as possible, because what's going to happen is if this is a magma key seed, our runners are going to start going in all sorts of crazy different directions trying to find that hook or trying to find those Excalibur pieces. And it could be a wild, wild finish if that's the case.
And frankly, it could be a wild start. We're kicking this off with Rydia, who is not exactly potent in the HP department starting off. She is, I believe, the only character who starts at level 1 in this game and starts off with a measly 30 HP. Bit fragile.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously it'll depend a little bit on who the second character is too. But I mean, one of the early risky decisions we could see our runners facing right away is, do I want to just start going after these objectives or after key items? Or do I want to actually do those character checks, maybe try to find an edge or something like that, to really just kind of mow through everything? Because looking at these objectives, if it is a hook seed, you've got to think that an edge with maybe a little bit of a supporting cast is going to be enough to get you through that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then after that, it's going to be how do you get your party ready for Threemus. So I agree with you. I think even if this is a jet seed, we're going to see a lot of interesting plays. We might see some low-level strats. I don't know if anybody's been practicing low-level strats or eddy strats, but yeah, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be intense. And one good thing for our runners tonight, I will also point out, is because these are all the runners that went 3-0 in the hook group. So none of them is going to be eliminated after tonight. They all get a chance to come back next week and have one more shot at making it to the table rounds.
Yep, we will have a second play-in match for the hook route players, which will include everyone who doesn't take first place tonight and those who had already taken 1 loss throughout that phase. But that is a bigger group, and that is equally dire. So you're going to want to play well now so that you don't have to worry about playing well in a much more difficult situation. And it looks like it is time to start doing the playing.
For sure. Here we go. So let's start seeing it. I will say, I hope if it's a hook, I hope the hook is like the starting item.
Nope, we start off with a Baron key as our 2 children wander off on a grand adventure.
Gee, Palom, what do you want to do tonight? Same thing we do every night, Rydia. Yeah, good call there in chat as well from Trino. That is a free, well, it's not a free fight, but that should be a pretty easy fight too if our runners do end up having to go through that Baron key. So yeah, there's going to be, there's a lot to do on this overworld early on.
It was like Iker is making that decision, head straight to Mysidia. Yeah, everybody is making that move. Everyone's like, we would like some adults. We would like some adult supervision right now.
I can't blame it. I mean, with this party, you basically have to decide between either looting or character checking. Oh, hey, it's Edge.
It's Ed, other Ed.
So, all right. So now the question is, let's see if we start going after these spots now that we got an Edge. So pretty exciting. This is gonna be an exciting start. Let's keep an eye on the action here.
Yep, just see cabins, Cure 1s available in Mysidia. Nobody's bothering to pick those up.
Well, of course, nobody has any money yet. They haven't done anything.
Well, yes.
I would like to purchase a cabin today, for which I can pay you on Tuesday. Nope, we see some more looting, though. We got watery pass checks from some of our runners. We got JDP going to Damsian. Definitely want to get this loot spot cleared up because you're probably going to need the hook one way or another anyway, so not bad. Iker taking an encounter here.
Yeah, maybe wants to get a little safety on Rydia. Big Dunka, meanwhile, finds Kane and picks him up. Lord Bobry sees Kane over in Baron Inn. And
yeah,
goes
Lord
to pick
Bobry
him up.
going straight for that objective also.
Yeah,
With
this is a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, with an Edge, this is potentially doable, although it depends on the boss.
Yeah, that Bahamut was not going to be a challenge in that first slot, but it's the second slot that you're a little concerned about. And it's just going to be a Mylon.
This should be okay, I think, because he's not going to be able to one-shot Edge. He's probably going to be able to one-shot everybody else. But as long as you can keep enough bodies upright to absorb those hits, Mylon Z does nothing but physical attacks. So this should be good for Lord Bobry, getting that first objective on the board here, I assume, in short order.
Yeah, the only scary part here is that this is the karate fight, so it is tuned towards doing those physical attacks. But again, if you can survive enough swings, then you're in good shape. JDP went over to Damsian, found our favorite Sage Tella, and is going to go and hit the Mist Cave and try on that objective.
Good moves by those two runners. I like them just kind of attacking these objectives. We got Velvalis here as our required boss in the Mist Cave, so not going to be a problem for Edge. Lord Bobry, by the way, did find out that Mylon Z absorbs ice, so just a quick note, that is not something that comes up very often, but now is switched to throwing those Cure 2 potions, which is really smart because Mylon Z is undead, so they damage him.
And Valvalis is fully dead. With JDP getting through that objective, Lord Bobry getting through the Baron Inn as well. So 2 runners, 4 minutes in, each have an objective on the board.
And Bobry gets the Sand Ruby for that win along with Kane. So we're still not sure about our underground path yet, but we have cleared our first check, which is not usually Baron Inn, but today it was because of the objective there. So very nicely done by Lord Bobry there. Might say drawing first blood in a way. It's just you definitely, I think with this type of race anyway, with the 7 racers as well as the potential for this to be a jet seed, definitely like seeing the aggressive starts from some of these runners here.
I would say the only argument against saying drawing first blood is that Lord Bobry defeated Mylon Z, and like, are we really going to debate like, do zombies bleed? Like that's a whole conversation.
I never thought to ask. There's technically no blood in this game, so
that's true.
Yeah, you mentioned that Tella, by the way, as well, that was at Damsian. So that's probably going to be pretty important to our runners. Ike here doing the first, I believe, the first check of the Hob summon as well here. So let's see what he gets. Ooh, that's Odin. That is a good one.
Yeah.
There's definitely some bosses we've already seen that could potentially be useful with that. Dunka, by the way, I'm just going to call this out as well, grabbed a ninja sword out of the antlion looting, so that's really good for his edge as well. So if here's the counterpoint to going very fast and aggressive is you might not want to be looting antlion cave, and you might see some of our more aggressive-minded runners miss like that ninja sword, which is potentially really important.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a solid split on the two sides of our screen. On the left side, you have JDP, Lord Bobbery going after those objectives, taking things off the list. Big Dunka, Ikir, they're getting themselves prepared. They want to be in a position where they can just 1, 2, 3 hit all of those objectives in a row with a strong party and go straight to Zeromus from there.
Yeah, what we're looking later on to see is if they can come back together, if they converge. So we'll see. That remains to be seen. Another quick loot to call out before we see this antlion item. JDP pulled a Stardust Rod out of the Watery Pass, so that is pretty good there. And we get a Luca key from the bottom of antlion, which is not exactly what you want to see in this format. With one minor caveat. Hutphin, why might you not be super excited to see a Luca key in this particular format?
Well, we have the warp glitch enabled. So when you go down to the dwarf castle in the underground, and you do the whole defense sequence, the way the game is programmed, try and save some space, you can end up casting warp in the throne room, and it sends you to the crystal room that is at the end of Sealed Cave, meaning that you don't actually need the Luca key. Unless Miss Dragon happens to be hanging out in the Sealed Cave.
Yeah, so that is, it could happen. It could happen. We'll see. We might have some Zoe seed rolling magic tonight. Shout outs to our restreamer, Zoe Vermilion, as well as our two trackers tonight, who are, as pointed out in chat, are doing a fantastic job. Bursic Badger and Bad Karma. We got a free fight here at the Fabul defense for Big Dunka.
Yep, the Evelyn royalty is not much of a battle pretty much anywhere you find them. You'd be hard pressed to find a spot where they're an actual concern. And plus we have free bosses on, so after a while they just give up anyway.
That's true, but when you got a party like this, I mean, you don't even really need to wait for them to give up. You can just take care of it yourself. So Dunka does that. He is through, and we're going to get our first peek at this Fabul defense item, which could be very important. Oh man, more overworld checks. We got music.
Well, I mean, it could be very important. There could be progression hidden behind that, but if nothing else, it's very desirable for the viewers. Maybe not so the runners, but certainly the viewers.
It is. And I have to say that to me, this is shaping up to be the kind of seed that is just like really anxiety inducing for our runners, because, you know, if your objectives are clean up these two spots on the overworld and then get underground, you want to see that hook or that magma key, I guess, as soon as possible. You don't want to like have in the back of your mind, if you go to Baron, like what if somebody's going and doing the twin harp instead, and that's the play. So this is like potentially very interesting depending on where our underground access is and what type of underground access it is. So
yeah, but the longer that hook and that magma key both elude our runners, the more they're getting funneled towards the same conclusion. And I guess, yeah, the more important that initial decision becomes. Like, when do you end up just picking the thing that happens to be right? For all we know, that magma key or that hook could be hiding out in Baron, and our runners all have the tools they needed from the word go.
Absolutely. Now, I'm also kind of curious, too, because as we see Dunka climb Mount Ordeals, which Mount Ordeals, to be fair, is a very... It's a good check. You're going to get something out of it, especially if you've got a Tella. but of the options available, it is a relatively slow compared to some of the others. Although you could argue Twin Harp is also pretty slow. But I'll be curious to see if there's any divergence with our runners from this more traditional routing, considering that you have an edge, considering that you have a pretty well-equipped Kayn at this point, it seems. I saw Dunka also grab a Sylph Summon from the Fabul looting spree. So I think for our runners, when they get through these first couple checks, and we already saw Bobbery, for example, already do Baron in, I'll be really curious to see if somebody peels away and does the Twin Harp or does the full Baron checks early.
Yeah, well, I'll point out that it was Duncan that found the Sylph, because Duncan does not actually have Rydia in his party any longer.
Oh, good call. Did manage to save room for Edward, though.
Yeah, I'm interested where Edward will play in his ultimate strategies. But everyone else has held on to Iridia, and even if you got rid of one, there was one available on Mount Ordeals as well that Big Dunka had no interest in.
Interesting decision-making, for sure.
Yeah, but, does have a Palom, does have a Tela, does have a source of exit and a source of warp, so you're not terribly concerned about losing one Black Mage.
No, that's very true, and Palom will get some pretty powerful stuff at a certain point. I guess with Edge as well, you're not really relying on Rydia to maybe carry you through this early game quite as much, but at the same time, Sylph might get you through some stuff that Edge might not be able to, potentially. We're seeing all of our runners also finishing up that Fabul defense check now, getting that Twin Harp. So we'll see if anybody's got anything in mind other than just going to Fabul, especially for our runners who haven't done the Baron in yet, which I believe Lord Bobbery is still the only one who has done that particular objective.
That is correct. And yeah, Ikea Big Dunka still completely avoiding both of the accessible objectives. Kind of going... It's almost like everyone's following each other's steps. Big Dunka, then Ikea following him, and then Lord Bobbery following him, then JDP following him. At least in terms of this Fabul into potentially Ordeals sequence.
And this is that is a really rude spot for the D-Lunars. That back attack spot is pretty awful, mainly because of the speed that spot has and the back attack dynamics of it. So the D-Lunars are going to get off in a hurry, and they're going to do a ton of damage. So yeah, Dunka already wiped. He's back in the fight again. We'll see if it goes a little better this time for him.
But meanwhile, Ikea proved me wrong and heading on over to Cave Magnus.
Ikea officially first champion of the people.
He is here for some tunes, and for all we know, this could be the better of the two options.
Well, I think we're going to find out. We might find out from Ikea if this is a good play before Dunka, although it does look like Dunka's got this fight under control a little more the second time around, although it does look like might be, relying on frog strats here. So we'll see. We hopefully, at least from Big Dunka's point of view, we're going to see some reflected frogs here in just a minute.
Oh, only gets the one.
That's not bad. If this happens, just for those of you who have not been in this particular situation before, what you actually want to do is you always don't want to attack the D-Lunars. That's part of their script that you want to avoid. But in this case, you actually want to attack them because all they will do is try to cast virus off of each other, and it will not work. So there you go. Yeah, Dunka gets the attack in there. Meanwhile, Bobbery is doing that Baron key dive, so we've got that divergence we were hoping for now.
Yep, JDP following Big Dunka up the mountain. Ikea in the Dark Elf fights. We'll see what music we get from this seed in a moment or two.
we're going to get a break to actually breathe a little bit here. While we're waiting for the first music, I also just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who is watching and chilling in the general voice channel of the FF4FE Discord. Hope y'all are having a good time. Keep it classy, folks. All right, easing back into the action here, Ikir gets the Blaster Master classic track on the Twin Harp. Kanazo, he's going to get to dispatch here. And Big Dunka found a Dragoon Spear on top of Ordeals, so does get Tella's full spell list and potentially some Paladin Cecils moving forward. But definitely not what Dunka wanted to see there in terms of the reward.
Now, that is a high-tier spear for Kayn, but that's about all you're getting. Not nearly as much impact as you would hope for, especially after that D-Lunar fight. I suppose the levels that you get from doing all of those fights is more of a reward at that point.
I think there's a lot of seeds where getting a Dragoon Spear in that spot would actually be really welcome, but in this seed, we have seen so much good loot so far. We've gotten a Ninja Sword on our edge already. Kayn already had an Ogre Axe. We've got 2 Stardust Rods. It's just, the loot has been crazy good so far. So a Dragoon Spear is nice, especially for certain grind options that Dunka might be interested in later, but it's definitely not something that he really needs, I would say, at this point.
Meanwhile, JDP has been taking on this D-Lunar fight a little more traditionally, I suppose, but using those sylphs to reasonably good effect and gets through without taking any wipes.
Yeah, nicely done there by JDP. That Sylph Summon, I was actually talking about that Sylph Summon as the D-Lunars popped up, and it definitely occurred to me that that Sylph Summon would help you get through that fight. So JDP proven me right there.
Yeah, Sylph Summon not going to be as beneficial against these dolls that are on the Baron Throne. You want something that's a little more multi-target, but Edge can provide in that sense.
Here's hoping. I would not expect this to... Yeah, I would back it up with the Hourglass, which is exactly what Bobbery does, because this spot has pretty high magic defense. I would not expect One Flame to take everything out here.
Yep, exactly as you said. The Brennos are gone, but the cows survive.
Should be fine now, though. Just got to clean him up. Meanwhile, Iker having a little bit of trouble finishing off this Kanazo in the Twin Harp, which, not surprising. The spot's defense is pretty high. It can be tough to take out chunks this early on when you're dealing just melee damage. I don't think Iker has anything that deals extra ice or lightning damage at this point, so could be in a bit of a rough patch finishing this fight out at this point.
I think the only... we have seen a Blizzard Spear somewhere. I don't remember where it was, so I don't know if Ikir would be holding on to it. But yeah, the Dark Elf spot has substantial magic defense, and that just makes this fight that much harder, especially if you know you want to be using Lit to interrupt Kanazo's script.
And we're going to see from Lord Bobbery what this Baron Castle check is going to provide here. After this, between Ikir and Lord Bobbery, we will either have our underground access or, I guess, the Earth Crystal, or confirmation that the D-Mist is hiding somewhere. So let's see. We're going to get it in stereo, it looks like.
Well, that's an Earth Crystal out of Baron. And a
Oh,
spoon.
no. Wow, this is crazy.
Wow. To Zot.
I mean, I think we looked at the seed and we thought this might potentially be a jet seed, but I don't think we necessarily thought we were going to be cleaning up the entire overworld trying to get underground here. So at this point, we know that, although has anybody checked the waterfall, Hupfin? I don't know if I've seen that.
You know, I don't believe they have.
Okay, so at this point then, we know, in all likelihood, the chain to get to the underground is through the Baron Castle and then the Earth Crystal. We're going to get to rate that treasury as well, presumably here in just a second with Lord Bobry. It's going to be interesting as well to see if he decides to do Twin Harp first and then Earth Crystal, or if just goes straight up into Zot.
Yeah, personally, I feel like doing Twin Harp before Zot is the smarter play. When you finish Zot, it dumps you out in Baron. When you finish Twin Harp, it doesn't dump, it leaves you right where you were. So it's convenient to get both of those if you're ever that you want to be checking both of those spots. If you're feeling like this seed was a jet from the word go, and I just want to do as little as I need to, then maybe you just go and do Earth Crystal. And you're taking quite a good amount of crystal gear up there with you, or redeem and get straight to the shop.
Okay, that was a good treasury. I saw an Avenger, a crystal ring, a tiara, an ice brand could be useful. Kanazo fight. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that treasury. I would definitely give that a 9 out of 10 personally.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I might say 8 only because it was a little sparse on pre-open chests, but you can't complain about what you did receive.
Whenever you get something that you can immediately put to good use, I always feel pretty good about that.
No, that's a fair point.
And it should be worth noting, we haven't found a traditional white mage, which, to sort of provide a counter argument to your argument about checking Twin Harp first, which I don't think there's a wrong answer here, but we do see Lord Bobry going up into the Tower of Zot to check that Earth Crystal. I think that there's a couple of reasons you might want to do that. First of all, everybody is going to probably do Baron Castle because they already have to go to Baron anyway to do the Baron Inn. And second of all, you haven't found a white mage yet, and you're going to get 2 more character checks by going up here.
Yeah, that is a very, very strong point. I know a lot of runners are pretty comfortable working with Tella, but Lord Bobry doesn't have them. I don't think he's gone to Damsian at all. And Sylph on Rydia, that's a form of healing, but it's not a white mage.
I mean, that being said, I would probably personally go to Twin Harp first too, so, but...
Yeah. I guess it depends on how confident you are that whatever's there you can handle with this party.
I mean, regardless, we do know this is the right choice. So Bobry is getting geared up here, is going to have us the first look out of anybody at this Earth Crystal. We do see JDP and Dunka. Dunka's about to get his Earth Crystal, doing a pretty good job cleaning up the overworld. I'm pretty sure this is going to be his last key item check aside from Twin Harp and Earth Crystal. But JDP is just now getting to the Baigan spot, and Ike here is doing Baron Inn as well. Or no, now he's going into Baron Castle, excuse me. But we know he's the only runner that's already done the Twin Harp, so there's a little bit of progress question mark there. Does Ike here still have an Edward? I guess if not, he's about to get one, because Edward was the Baron Castle character.
I think he does still have one in the party. As does Lord Bobry, though knocking him out pretty quickly in this Odin fight. Probably preparing for the Thunderstrike, should that need arise.
We see Dunka checking the Odin spot before going up to the king. Ooh, you don't like to see that.
Ooh, nope.
So Dunka does have the information. Oh, he already had gotten the Earth Crystal. I forgot that. So that's just information for Dunka. For some reason, I thought he was doing that instead of the throne check. So yeah, never mind. But is about to take care of objective number 3 here is Big Dunka. And then we'll be heading off to Troya and parts, the parts of that region there.
Yeah, this actually aligns everyone back up with their objectives. We've all 4 runners sitting on 2 and 3.
Indeed, and Lord Bobry getting through the Odin fight, which is not an easy thing to do.
Well, we know where Golbez is going to be hiding.
Golbez is going to be in his vanilla spot. And that's also Kane. If you're tuning in, we promise this is a randomizer.
Yes, normally you don't have Edge going into the Tower of Zot. Normally there isn't a child being tied up under a suspended orb.
If it had been Porum, I was going to make a joke about it being at least a white mage, but it is not. It is another black mage. We still do not have a Rosa or a Porum sighted anywhere in this seed.
Lord Bobry takes Kane over Rydia and then takes Palm over Kane.
Gotta respect that commitment to Edward as the anchor for Lord Bobry as well. We haven't had to talk too much about agility anchors. There may be a point where that becomes valuable. Oh, hi, it's D-Mist also. Ooh. Bonus round. So this is huge for Lord Bobry, because he is going to be our first runner underground. He's also going to get a free key item check here from D-Mist, and I can't imagine there is going to be anything that is going to have him going to the Twin Harp after this. So Twin Harp, although it did give Ike here that spoon, probably not a place we're going to see all of our runners go to, if I was to guess.
I suspect this is going to shuffle Bobry directly on route. We'll see in a moment if it's the magma route or the hook route. That's going to be the important deciding factor. If it's hook route, we're just hunting a darkness crystal. If it's the magma key, we still got some more work to do.
What if it's both?
You know, for once we can say that. Yeah, it could be the hook and the magma key, and well, at that point, the magma key is kind of useless, isn't it?
I mean, it's not necessarily useless. You might still want to go underground to see if you can power up before taking care of that hook route. Oh, or it could be darkness.
Oh.
Or it could be darkness in the hook. That would be exciting.
So let's see what D-Mist has. If it's the hook, that's 29-minute go mode.
Moment of truth coming up here, right here for Lord Bobry, although it should be noted does not have Tella. And has not done ordeals.
This is true, yes. It's the magma key.
On we go. Okay, so now we have everything open to us, and you have to find the hook. Good luck, everyone. I'm excited. Yep. This is what I'm here for.
Certainly everyone is going to be wanting to find the hook, but if in that process you end up with the Adamant and the Legend Sword, well, hey, that's go mode as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, before we get too ahead of ourselves, we do have some free checks that Lord Bobry is going to be able to make here pretty quickly. So I think I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but assuming there's just a bunch of blanks everywhere, our runners are going to have to decide, do I want to keep looking for key items, which with this party is probably pretty reasonable. You got that Edge, you got a Palom that's going to be having Quake pretty soon. All that good stuff. Or do you want to take your Tela and do you want to grind to endgame levels? Because you're going to have that Darkness Crystal, and if you already did Ordeals, you got that option to you as well. But that's going to forego doing key item checks for a while.
Yeah, it comes back to what I mentioned earlier in the run of doing your objectives versus getting prepared. We saw that, at least with this early game, with the way things shook out, about 25, 26 minutes in, both sides kind of converged. But this is a much larger opportunity for divergence, and that is going to matter a lot more when it comes to the end times.
So we do have JDP going to Twin Harp here, so we're going to get a reprise of that here in a minute. Dunka has chosen the correct path and is about to get all of the progression items. And Lord Bobry is about to head underground, and we will see what he decides to do first.
Yep, and of course, having that edge in the party does mean even if we don't end up finding sirens in Feymarch or any of the shops down here, you can always steal yourself a hearty little supply if that's how you want to do your grind. Is going to check some of the chests down here in the path to the Feymarch first. There is a trap chest down here, so do be mindful of that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason you're opening these chests is because they're potentially better items. Again, though, our runners just have such good gear so far, especially coming out of that earth crystal, that Troya treasury, which was pretty solid. I'm really curious to see at what point some of our runners like visibly stop looting things, because I think that'll be pretty telling with how they feel about where they're at in the race right now.
Well, I guess Lord Bobry decided to stop pushing his luck after finding that ninja shirt, and leaves the last floor of that cave unlooted. Finds one half of our Excalibur. That is the Legend Sword in the free chest.
All right, so now we need either an Adamant Rock or the Hook. We got 2 ways to go mode. So remember how we talked about there being a lot of divergence potentially? We're also going to potentially see go mode 2 ways, I think, in this seed. That's very, very likely because we know that the Hook doesn't actually lead to anything, and the Adamant is not a key item that gates anything. So they're both just floating around out there somewhere.
And it looks like Leviathan has is sharing our chat's fondness for Leg. Although that could be the elements, not always sure.
So Hupfin, what do you think your first play, aside from the freebies, would be once you got down here?
Ooh,
especially in this position where you just picked up the Legend Sword.
You know, I tend to, if I don't have the tower key, my bias tends to be doing Dwarf Castle. Even in this situation, like, we know that Golbez is in his vanilla spot. We know we have to deal with that, and that fight's kind of annoying. But less annoying, certainly, than Vanilla Leviathan and Rubicante or Elements. And I don't always like to do Keyless Tower. So I think I'm going to Dwarf Castle at this point.
That's a good call. I think Lord Bobry agrees with you. One point in particular for all of our runners is, as you said, Golbez. Second point, I don't think Lord Bobry has a source of warp right now. So may just be checking the shops here.
You know, it does have those... It does have a Palom, I believe, but don't remember the levels. Big Dunka picked up a Porum. That was hiding out in the bed. There's your white mage. That's it.
Hey, we got a white mage. All right, Big Dunka is happy. Yeah, I think with Lord Bobbery here, we are seeing what happens when you don't have warp, and I believe there were also no sirens available anywhere in the underground. So he's gonna go steal some.
Yeah. There are, I keep forgetting if it's 4 or 5 trap chests in the lower tower. All of them are these alert siren enemies. That if you steal from them, you get a siren. And if you steal again, you can get another siren. They just keep coming.
They're just made of sirens. It's amazing. So, what happened there? I missed
that cane is made of Avenger's sword. Is what happened.
Oh, yeah, minor issue there. Avenger, we call that the Avenger backfire. So
he's just
Bobbery's
so
gonna have to, he's just gonna have to try again here. It's fine. Did remember to use a Cure 2 on his Edge, because if Edge fails at stealing, he actually takes damage, and you can unfortunately wipe to your own failed thievery if things don't go your way there. But yeah, it's an interesting position, because like Big Dunka is the second one underground here. They're just all blurring together, y'all. Sorry. He can just go straight into this fight because he's got a Tela with warp, and he's not afraid to use it. Just charging right in there. Sees CPU. We know Golbez is second. That should be very doable. And is going to get 2 key item checks that Lord Bobbery did not have access to.
Yeah, I would say these 2 fights are going to be, they have the potential to be tedious, but I'm not terrified on either one of them. If you have a meaningful healer, CPU is pretty easy in almost every location. And then Vanilla Golbez actually does not have the magic power of some other spots that he can show up in. So not as scary as he could be otherwise.
No, it shouldn't be too bad. Just need to make sure your HP is high coming out of the CPU fight, and you should be just fine. Ikir's about to catch up and get his underground access here, and he also has that spoon, and I assume a Edward to wield it. So that will be another interesting point of difference between our 3 runners, at least, that are a little bit ahead at this point. JDP is just a little bit behind. He should be headed underground in the next couple minutes as well, but our first 3 runners here that have made it underground are all coming underground and with very different circumstances, and it's just interesting to see how it's affecting their decision making. All really smart play, really heads up play too, I have to add as well, just because you kind of have to play the hand that you're dealt. And these 3 runners just have different hands coming underground here, and they're actually playing them incredibly well. It's just for Lord Bobbery, it's just a little bit suboptimal that he doesn't have warp yet, but he's actually taking the steps that he needs to remedy that right now.
And really, all of our runners are going to have to do some manner of grind at some point. So all this is really doing is making Lord Bobbery do more of the grind now as opposed to later. There are downsides to that, the 10 key item boost that you will get. Lord Bobbery's only at 8, but it's not like this is time that nobody else is going to have to spend.
Yeah, we've done so much checking already. That's pretty wild to see that Lord Bobbery already has 8 key items when we just got underground, basically. He also knows that he only needs 1 more item, whereas Big Dunka has not gone to the Feymarch yet. So that could be a concern if he continues to put that off here, depending on what he gets at Dwarf Castle. Might get the tower key, for example, and just go charging off to the tower right away.
Did have a little bit of a headache at the end of that CPU fight. Wound up activating the Globe 199 that just double shot Edge. Really did not like Edge. Big Dunka,
hey,
though,
it's a real light mage. Sorry, did not mean to talk over you. I love seeing Rosa show up there, even though Dunka, I believe, is the only one who had found Porum already.
Well, I suspect our other runners will pick up Rosa when they get there. How could you not?
It does take away one potential point of concern for our runners, though. Getting that Rosa, your sort of ideal white mage because of earlier access to the Cure 4 spell and a higher pool of hit points. At this point in the seed, you definitely want Rosa over Porum if you have the choice. So, all right. While Dunka is finishing off Golbez, here, Bobri has gotten a stash of sirens and has come right back to Dwarf Castle, which is interesting. Maybe just using the healing pot, but I would expect he's going to go scramble some eggs to get warp before doing that Dwarf Castle. Ikir's Underground looks like he is headed to Legend Sword, and JDP is just about to throw that Magma Key down the well.
Yeah, that is Lord Bobri heading over to the left side of the Underground map, hitting up that little strip of land that makes for a nice place to make omelets. It's just a good kitchen.
It's the omelet fields of the Underground.
Yes, the wild eggs roaming the plains, occasionally surprising you, occasionally hatching. That's problematic.
It is the cage-free zone of the Underground. No one can get to the eggs other than Lord Bobri because he has an airship. So. Yeah, chat pointing out Dunka getting through that Golbez fight with no problem. That fight has really low magic power, so it's not terribly surprising, but still good to see. And so we're going to get a couple key item checks here, one right after the other. Let's see what Big Dunka finds here. Swing and a miss.
Yep. But what about round 2? That's a different kind of swing, I guess.
That's a pan swing. That's probably that's the thing you want to see. That is a Now Dunka has 3 key item checks to do, one right after the other here.
Yeah, honestly, the sooner that you see the pan, the more convenient it is, just because you know you can do just one visit to the Sylph House. It's really frustrating when the pan ends up being vanilla and just completely prevents that ability.
That's true. It does kind of put that out of your mind a little bit. We don't know what Sheila 1 is yet, so I'm really excited to see what this turns into as well. Meanwhile, okay, so here's a bold move. Ikir is taking on the element spot in the Fey March.
Yeah, and Rubicante is not pleased with that decision. Rubicante wanted some alone time.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough fight. If you can't reflect spells and just take care of the Mylon Z phase of the elements, that's going to be a really difficult fight for a party at that point in time, and I just don't think Ikir has the levels for that right now.
Yeah,
it was worth a shot, though. I'm not, we're not faulting Ikir for taking that swing. It just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, as with a number of battle scripts in this game, the changing from Mylon to Kanazo to Rubik, etc., only happens on direct damage. So if you are able to reflect damage onto Mylon Z, you just keep them locked in that form the entire time through. And that is one of the easier ones of the set to handle. Honestly, Valveless is the easiest of the 4, just because she ends up stacked with all of the weaknesses. But that's at the tail end of the whole thing.
Yeah, the Rubicon fight, or the Rubicon part of that is just the really, really scary part. So if you can avoid that or get through it quickly, you're usually in pretty good shape.
And JDP also making the play to bring Rosa into the party. Big Dunka grabbing that Legend Sword.
All right, good news for Dunka. Things are coming together with his routing and having that Tella. We talked about that earlier. Lord Bobbery made that decision to fade Ordeals and got him underground first. He also avoided Tella by not checking the character check at where was that? Damsian?
Damsian, yep.
had the Tella, but it is coming back to haunt him a little bit here by having to take the time to go do some pre-grinding. Whereas Dunka almost certainly, let's see, he's sitting on 8 key items right now. Really good chances that Big Dunka will have 10 key items for the grind. And actually, Lord Bobbery is going to almost certainly get there as well, because he'll have the pan after this, but he already had to do some grinding without 10 key items, which a little bit less optimal in addition to having to steal the sirens.
Yeah, I think Big Dunka is actually on 9 because, yeah, the pan... that notoriously hard to see on the tracker. So Big Dunka is very close to hitting that double XP that will really speed up his grind. The moment he gets the hook, well, the moment he's in go mode, he knows he's got that boost.
Yeah, and if you decide to do something like a D machine grind, cutting your grind time in half is pretty big, because those fights can be a little bit taxing on your resources. They can be a little bit tedious. The less time you have to spend doing D machines, the better.
Meanwhile, JDP gets through the Golbez fight pretty swiftly and seamlessly. Lord Bobbery right now just on the second phase of Golbez, the actual fight.
Yeah, runners have really come back together here in the underworld. First item from the Sylphs is a Bahamut summon, so no help to Big Dunka at this point. But we are going to see 2 checks from Sheila here coming up, I would assume, right about now. Oh, or not. Okay. Maybe it's time to steal some sirens.
Yeah, very well could be.
I mean, you're flying right by the tower. Why not?
I guess so, yeah. But that Bahamut summon, Ikir is the only one who's got any chance of making use of it, and it depends on if he takes Rosa and who he gets rid of to claim her. Because everyone else has decided that Rydia's time in this team is over. And that's 4 for 4.
Oh man, well, we know, but that definitely seems like the right play.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those only in hindsight and only with our commentator view do we realize the downside of that move, but there's plenty of upsides.
I mean, I still think I'd rather have a Rosa than a Bahamut summon, but still, yeah.
Well, that's true. This party is not entirely wanting for damage with that Edge and the Cane. Because again, as you've been saying, we got some good loot on this party. So Lord Bobbery picking up the pan as well. Ikir is going to be right behind, just taking care of some Star Veils to make this fight that much easier.
Ikir having a little bit, or maybe not a little bit of trouble, might just be wanting to get XP on those other characters if at all possible. All right, I believe Dunka stole some sirens. Also, that chest that he and Lord Bobbery used for siren stealing. Wow, I'm so tongue-tied tonight. Had a power shirt in it, which is a significant upgrade for Edge.
I feel like you were about to say style and sealing, which is an image actually that I'm like I want to flow with for a moment. Just be really stylish as you like weather seal things. Lord Bobbery is going to obtain that Bahamut summon, as will JDP. Big Dunka gonna show us what Sheila's got to give.
Does Sheila have the goods?
Sheila's got the goods. That's the hook. And the tower key, because of course.
All right, Big Dunka is in go mode with 10 key items. Time to get on your horse. You feel a little bit scared, I suspect, as a runner, seeing that Sheila 1 was the go mode item. But at the same time, we know from our 4 runners here that Big Dunka is the first in go mode. Although JDP is also about to be in go mode, as well as he lands in front of Fabul.
Yeah, this is proving to be surprisingly close for all the little divergences that we've seen. But Big Dunka, having gone to Damcian already, activated that hovercraft, so it can just pick it up immediately. That's time that Lord Bobry is going to have to spend, having not gone to Damcian at all.
Yep. So Dunka's still in a good position. He is in the lead here of our 4 featured runners, and we have to think this is the path they're all going to take. Also, hi, Sirens in the shop.
Sirens and coffins. That's your egg kit. That's your omelet meal kit right there.
Omelet scrambling supplies.
So there's still the large problem, the information that we don't have, the information that's very important. Who are we actually fighting before we launch the Falcon?
Pretty important information to know. There's definitely a few rude bosses, even for a party with some additional levels at this point. That is potentially one of them.
That is Vanilla. That is Vanilla Rubicante. So as we know, Elements is the one that's down in the Fey March.
That is true. We got a Sid. Bye, Sid. I presume.
Yeah, I don't see very many runners taking Sid at this point.
Lord Bobry gets the news that there was a Tella here the whole time. Zoe's given us 3 instances of vanilla tonight. Good job, Zoe. Actually, or 4. Was it the Leviathan was 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. And Ikir is giving us a look at the top of tower, doing this keyless and finding a blue robe that ends up being Water Hag. So the better of the 2 options for a blue robe.
I mean, we're calling this a gamble, but if Ikir finds the adamant here, that would actually be huge. He would avoid having to do any of this hook route shenanigan that we are seeing our other 3 featured runners doing.
Yeah, that would actually give I would say an advantage at that point. You're able to avoid what could be difficult fights and what definitely is a bit of a long dungeon to run through.
I would too, absolutely. JDP is going to scramble eggs with 10 key items before diving that hook route. Interesting choice here from him. Saw those sirens in the Evelyn Cave shop and decided, let's go get the grind done right now.
And Ikir just gets a white shirt.
That's rough. You got to reset out of that, right? I mean, in a race like this, not to second guess the runner, but I think in a race like this, you absolutely have to reset out of that check. Might have sirens that he would lose, though. I didn't catch if he stole any.
Yeah, neither did I, and nor did I catch when he is last saved. But Big Dunka making quick work of the Magus sisters at the Evelyn royalty spot, so it's just down to 1 single Rubicante before heading to go mode.
Going back and doing the safety save here, can't blame him. This fight could be rough without the grind. JDP taking the time to grind here on the front end. You're going to be in go mode after this, so I like this play from JDP. There's really nothing. If you know that the only thing between you and Zeromus is 2 hook bosses, I say get your grind done now. They're not going to give you a ton of XP to kind of get you over that hump. So this makes a lot of sense to me. And here we go, Big Dunka versus Big Leg. So the thing that you have to worry about, I think, in this fight isn't so much those counter fire 2s, but you do have to worry about Rubicon being very fast. He's going to hit hard, and those glares are going to knock out any of your party members.
Absolutely. That was Big Dunka's first move, was to cast slow and try to even this fight up a little bit.
It should be worth noting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hutfin, but I don't think any of our runners has found a curse string. Does that seem right to you?
You know, I haven't seen any.
Chad, have you seen any curse strings?
I think Big Dunk is declaring this a cursed fight. Resetting out after a couple unfortunate glares might lower the battle speed a little bit. At least that would be what I would think to do. But no, just going to dive back in and hope that RNG plays a little nicer.
Yeah, I think Big Dunka had the right idea, but this fight's no joke. Did he sell the Blizzard Spear? Might have sold the Blizzard Spear. Looks like we're going to get some darts in here.
Well, not if Edge... Oh, no, Edge can survive a glare.
I tell you who's not going to have trouble with this fight, though. JDP is not going to have any trouble with this fight. Just cruising through the egg scrambling here. Lord Bobbery is taking a trap chest here, the Mad Ogre trap chest. And Ikir is clearing out the alerts on the way back down from... doing that keyless tower check as well. So I think if you're banking on this being a long seed, I don't hate Ikir's decision here to do these trap chests. For Lord Bobber, you're in go mode right now, and maybe just wants a little bit more XP to have an easier time with that Rubicon fight that he doesn't know it's Rubicon. Only Ikir is going to know that. But yeah, this might cost him a few minutes. Looks like he's actually having a little bit of trouble. Oh, he's stealing Bacchus wines actually too.
Yeah, I feel like that might be the main reason for taking this entire encounter in the first place. Rosa will learn Bursk, will be able to desert the party on her own, but that takes levels. She's not there yet, and you can get levels here and steal, and why not just grab some resources when they're available?
Well, I'm gonna quickly play devil's advocate because I love to do that. You have an Avenger, you have a White Mage, you have 2 melee fighters. I don't think you need Bacchus wines, but maybe if you end up in that trap chest anyway, it's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, no, that is an extremely valid point, especially if you're looking at the party that Lord Bobbery has and you're saying, nope, that's it, that's what I'm going with. And with the gear that we've seen and the characters that we've seen, that's probably where I would land too.
We're going to see how this shakes out, but once the finish line's kind of in sight like this, I do think these individual decisions that we see our runners making become just a little bit more like under the microscope. And absolutely, based on what we are seeing here, I mean, Big Dunka's still on this Rubicon fight after all this time. JDP is about to be... JDP could go now. I think this is probably going to be his last egg. I think he is just trying to get Nuke on that Palom, and I think this is going to do it. But yeah, JDP is not going to have to do any of this nonsense after Rubicon, and he's probably going to have an easier time of it.
Yeah, and I care for this whole, lower tower adventure that he's had. Hasn't come out of it with any key items, but has come out of it with the best robes to put on a White Mage and one of the best swords to give Edge. So, I mean...
What did he get? I missed it. What did he get?
You got a Masamune.
Ooh, okay. Well, that is good for Ike here for sure. Big Dunka, by the way, also just having a heck of a time timing these ice spells against Rubicon as well. I think I've seen a couple floods hit the Flame Cape. I think I saw at least one Ice 2 hit the Flame Cape. And those do not damage Rubicon when his cape is closed.
No, they heal him.
Yeah, so Leg being incredibly rude here. This is not what we typically see from Rubicon in this randomizer. Not always a huge problem, but in this case, proving to be very, very problematic.
Yeah, this is why, personally, I try to use just non-elemental spells, things like Virus, things that won't have to deal with that whole setup. But, you know, an Ice 3 doing 6,000 damage, there's an argument to be made for doing Ice 3.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
But with that, Big Dunga just has to finish the rest of the walk, launch that Falcon, and will be our first runner on this stream with the crystal.
Good news for Big Dunka. That was a tough fight. Nice job getting through that. That was a long fight. I think we had a lot of stuff happen while Big Dunka was chewing through that Rubicon. So good job getting through that. Lord Bobry may be in a much better position here as well, just based still on the fact that he's still carting around that base level Edward as his anchor in a seed where we do not have any curse strings so far.
Yeah, and of course, Edward, one of his redeeming qualities over time is that his agility does grow pretty fast, so he does end up being a relatively speedy character, but not when he's base level. When he's base level, he's slow, and you want someone slow.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a solid anchor in this situation, although you're still probably going to want to toss a slow spell or a silk web. Speaking of things our runners haven't found, have we found a silk web yet?
You know, I haven't seen one either. No. If they were in a shop, they glossed right over it. And Ike here, I guess, doesn't have the pan. Maybe didn't do the warp glitch. I don't know. But either way, is coming up here to do Mount Ordeals. I kind of wonder if he's gunning for that adamant ore.
I would be curious to know if Ike here feels like he's very behind at this point. If I was a fly on the wall watching Ike here, I feel like that's where this decision might come from.
Yeah, very well might. Versus one of our trackers pointing out that Ike here didn't actually have warp available in Dwarf Castle. I guess Tella and Palom were both KO'd and didn't revive either one of them.
Well, if Palom didn't have the levels, that would explain that.
Yeah.
And then Tella wouldn't
yeah.
have it if we hadn't done our deals yet, so... But you can't go back and warp now, so...
Yeah. If you're gonna get that pan, you gotta go through Sealed Cave. And that's a bit of a dungeon. It takes time. You can't exit out of it.
Meanwhile, we got JDP starting up his Rubicon fight here. We suspect this will be a significantly easier fight than Dunka had, although he is through already and has his crystal. Lord Bobry also through the Rubicon fight, so is going to be picking up his crystal here very shortly. But again, just like Dunka, still needs to grind.
Yeah, not as much as Dunka, but not quite at the levels, certainly not at the levels that JDP is at. JDP can just knock on Zeromus' door right now with that party. Yeah,
and so Bobry, I don't think has weak. Dunka, the one thing Dunka has, and I'm pretty sure we saw hourglasses in, I want to say Dwarf Castle. So Dunka might be able to do a pretty quick grind here with 10 key items in weak on some gold dragons. that might be enough to keep him ahead of JDP, but we'll see. It really just depends on how quickly JDP gets through this Rubicon fight. I say as he nukes Rubicon with Palom.
I mean, that'll get you through the fight right quick. Lord Bobbery taking advantage of the fact that doing this objective dumps you out into the underground, where, you know, you can do a siren grind, you can do an egg grind. So, kind of routing it conveniently in that sense.
Did Dunka just get rid of Tella? I was glancing away for a second, and Chad is reacting as though Dunka got rid of Tella.
I would be surprised, but I'm being told yes. So, okay.
I mean, I guess if you don't have a curse string, you might feel more comfortable with a base level character as opposed to a Tella, but I want to know what your grind plan is now. That's tricky. That's a tricky decision to assess.
I guess our restreamer Zoe Vermillion has it. Who needs a Tella when you have a Dragoon Spear?
You do have a Dragoon Spear Avenger Kane, but you do have to keep him. Oh, and he's got hourglasses. I guess there's that.
Yeah. Again, it's the equipment. It's the equipment seed.
It's still a little bit longer than casting week, though. I'm just gonna chat's acting like nothing's wrong here. The casting week with Tella is in a vacuum faster. So, hey, Tella cannot be replaced by a simple hourglass. Come on now, show some respect for an elderly gent. JDP has his crystal. He is ready to go.
And it looks like he is indeed going. Heads immediately to Mysidia. Honestly, I think JDP maybe headed straight to Zeromus. I saw
think so too.
I saw 3,000 HP on a character that wasn't Sid or Yang. I think he's ready.
Yeah, I think he had Rosa that whole time he was doing egg grind. I think he is. I think he's good to go. I agree with you there. Dunka is not going to have any problem with these King Ryus though. So there is that. He's gonna close this gap while JDP is raising the whale, flying to the moon, saying no to the character presumably, and then running down. So I think for our purposes, this is pretty much a two-person race at this point between Big Dunka and JDP.
Yeah, Lord Bobbery is just a little too far behind on the grind, and Ikir did not manage to get that pan. That's how powerful that warp glitch can be.
Yeah, Ikir's suddenly on the moon. That's what happens in these four-person races. You look away for a second, you watch somebody else's stream, and then suddenly one of the racers is on a different planet.
Yeah, I mean, space travel just catches up with you sometimes.
You would think they'd have to go into cryo sleep for a couple of years or something, though. I don't know. Pretty instantaneous, honestly.
I don't know science.
It's all that whale technology. It's just way too advanced for us to understand.
Just highly advanced space whales. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a guards fight that Ikir is taking care of relatively well, but we have free bosses on, so these guards don't have the boss bit. You can use an hourglass and just stop them dead in their tracks. You can also use mute if you just want them to stop casting spells, but why do that when you can just stop them entirely?
Yeah, not a bad play here. Ikir gonna be able to get tons of XP. He is only, assuming the tracker is correct, he is only on 9 key items, unfortunately.
Yeah, I am pretty confident that tracker is accurate because, again, did not manage to get that pan. So this could be a key item number 10 for him. And again, if that's the adamant ore, then It's not going to catch up to our other runners, but it is going to be a sigh of relief.
Yeah, it's true. We still have that option of the admin being out there somewhere that Ikir could just kind of calmly pick that up and also be in go mode here at any point.
And honestly, with how he's positioning himself and how he's playing, I suspect that's what's going to happen. Because I don't see him going back and doing Sealed Cave. I feel like he wrote that off as just not going to be valued.
Just an apple.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, I do suspect, presumably we are going to see JDP or Dunka finish up here really quickly. I think that gets you back to Earth too. Feel bad for Ikir though, because if nothing else, you want to see him get key item number 10 there.
Yeah, but I know what else our chat would love to see.
Oh yeah, we're waking the walk through the crystal floors of the lunar subterrane. That means that somebody evil lurks right around maybe the next corner for Big Dunka here.
Yes, it could be evil, it could be geometric, it could be surrealist. But either way, whatever it is a butt. And we will kick it.
We are ready to ask the question in this first of our really hype and exciting. This has been a fantastic race, Hupfin. Our first play-in race to the table rounds. Whose butt are we gonna kick tonight? Let's go. Dunka's got some low levels. I gotta just point that out as we get into this fight right away. His Rosa does have Cure 4, but just north of 2,000 hit points. Palom does not have Nuke for sure at that level. So, meanwhile, JDP's got a rock solid party here. This is looking pretty good for JDP. Now it's just a question of how efficiently can you handle the fight, I think, if you're in JDP's position. I know that, but that is the AGDQ 2019 butt, I believe, designed specifically for AGDQ by Scala Kitty. That is the Animals miss from Super Metroid. So yeah, I guess we're killing the animals tonight, Hupfin.
Oh, we absolutely are. But they, it looks like they started it with that face. So
yeah, I don't think they really wanted to be
these
saved.
frames.
If only it was like in Super Metroid, and when we saved Animals miss, they escaped and went back to their own planet. That would be nice.
Yeah, adorable animals, absolutely worth saving. These are looking a little murderous, so
I see red eyes and pointy little teeth.
Yeah, and I also see a Palom that got knocked down on GDP's side. So had to clean that up a little bit. Tella got knocked out as well, but whatever.
That happens a lot with Tella.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, he's got a little bit of a setback here by that Palom going down. I assume to the counter nuke plus nerfed Big Bang combo platter, but is going to need to get some damage going here. The two melee fighters are doing their thing for sure. Kane is swinging with that Avenger. But here we do have a little bit of a problem here for JDP, and this is what happens when you don't have a curse ring. You have a Tella. Tella's got a handful of levels on him. Probably, if I was to guess, around maybe 10 to 12 agility, maybe 14, 15 at that level.
Yeah.
That is not ideal Zeromus butt kicking conditions.
No, that is a rather swift butt that you end up with.
Meanwhile, I think Dunka, even though it doesn't have the levels, does have that base level Palom as the anchor, and I think that is serving him a bit better here.
Yeah, may have opted to just leave the higher level Palom down as well and say, no, we're gonna melee this. And the numbers are not that bad at this stage.
No, Dunka's got control of this fight. Just needs to keep Rosa upright. The damage, it's going to be a little slower, but hopefully he can get through it if Rosa doesn't get high rolled. JDP has definitely gotten control of that Z fight back now as well. Guy has full MP on it, or full hit points on all of the characters. They're all swinging, so I think JDP is going to be okay here. Just might have to contend with a few more big bangs than maybe he wanted to.
Speaking of big bangs, there goes another one for Big Dunka. Rosa is a little hurt, but should... Oh, no. I had to say something, didn't I?
Yeah, she was south of 2,000 when that big bang went off, but I don't think it would have mattered. I think Animals Miss had Rosa's number there, and we see the Berserked character still going here. It is possible Dunka can recover this, but it's going to be a little bit tough here. Going to need to throw a life potion on Rosa and get a Cure 4 off. Maybe if he's got an elixir or something kicking around in the inventory, that might be a better option. But there's a nuke too. Yeah, he's in phase 2.
Ooh.
Oh.
And I think that Kane has the Avenger on, so he's just going to keep swinging until he goes down.
Yeah, if that nuke had just hit Kane instead of Edge, I think Dunka would have been able to recover that. That's too bad. Meanwhile, we got Lord Bobry in the fight now. JDP getting close to the end here. Another big bang comes out, takes out the Palom, unfortunately. Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, it does look like JDP and Lord Bobry are around the same point levels-wise, because their HP levels are looking pretty similar. So we should see actually a lot of the same behavior across those two fights, and it'll come down to which one can handle it better. But all things being equal, that will put JDP out ahead of Lord Bobry.
But I do have an announcement. We have a first place finisher. Twisted Flax from the other restream has finished in first place with an unofficial time of 1:16:31.
Right as JDP is getting to rocks.
Oh man, this is going to be so close. I'm really curious to see how close this is with JDP coming in to the finish here. And JDP with a direct nuke for the kill. JDP is your unofficial second place finisher with an unofficial time. I guess everything's unofficial until we make it official. 1:17:34. But GG's to JDP, finishing first on the restream, second out of 7 runners. Let's get all of your GG's and hype and emote spam out in chat for JDP here, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah, that was an incredible fight. Very, very strong strategy throughout the run to make that fight go as smoothly as it did. Even for the Palom hiccups, it was still a strong finish out and just a minute shy of winning the entire thing.
Yeah, there were just 1 or 2 little things that happened in that Z fight that I think if they hadn't happened, JDP might have been able to shave a minute off. But a minute's tough also. That's hard to say. Mm-hmm. But JDP played this seat incredibly well. It's a little heartbreaking to be the second place finisher by a minute like that, but an incredible race for JDP. We'll see about getting him in here for an interview in a second. I'm just getting caught up on a couple other things here. It looks like we have a third place finisher. Commander Leonhardt finishes third with a time of 1:17:57. So GG's to Commander Leonhardt, also really close, less than 2 minutes behind.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, like, that nuke that Big Dunka took on Edge after the party was knocked down so far, if that went and hit Kane instead, like, what was that? Would that have been enough? You know, it's like, when you're coming in that tight, taking, you know, a second place by a minute or taking a wipe so close to the end, like, these are such on the margin. These are very close matches.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Dunka was as close as maybe it appeared because of the damage output he had versus JDP, but that was also going to be really close. I'm not sure Dunka would have been able to finish before Twisted Flax if it hadn't been for that wipe, but it would have been interesting, that's for sure. And I do see we have JDP in the booth with us here for an interview. JDP, GG's. I know second place is not where you wanted to finish, but you played a heck of a race tonight. Walk us through it from your perspective.
There we go.
Hey, JDP, there you are. I'm sorry about that. Did you hear my question?
No, I had to change something because Windows Update likes to change settings.
Hooray!
I know about that. That is for sure. But no, I'll just go through the whole thing again. Great race. I know it doesn't feel good to finish second place in such a close race like that, but you played incredibly well. Give us kind of like your high level recap of that seed from your perspective.
Honestly, for the most part, I felt like I was ahead. That's kind of why when I had the pass to go the hook, I saw the signs. I'm like, I gotta grind right now. Like, do not pass go, do not collect 200. So even like when I was in the Threemus fight, like my hand was shaking, hovering over the enter key. But even when I saw the winner pop in, like I was under a minute. So considering I went into this tournament expecting to be like eliminated in the first round, I can't be mad, you know. For the most part, the seed was pretty smooth, though. Like, there wasn't too many problem areas. It was more just the wild goose chase, more so than anything.
Yeah, I think more than any of our other restreamed runners that we watched, you had probably the most efficient path through the second part of that seed. You didn't end up going to Feymarch at all. You just were able to go right to Dwarf Castle. You were able to get your hook via the pan, although technically I guess the pan wasn't required, but it did get you to 10 key items, so I'm sure you weren't unhappy about that. You immediately did your grind, which was also, I think the way it turned out with that Rubicon at the hook route, that ended up being a really heads-up play as well. So yeah, you were not the first underground, you were not the first to get your crystal, but you were obviously the first to defeat Threemus here.
Well, I mean, for the turning in the pan, like, I almost went to the Feymarch, but I was like, I should probably get these other key items first. And if I still have to go there, get it then. I wouldn't say it was a master plan, but it all kind of worked out. Which, I mean, I'm happy it worked out. I'm just happy it went well, you know. I'm unsure if I'm going to be able to do the second play-in because I think the time everybody else is available is kind of the worst day for me. So rather than hold everybody up, I might take the old proverbial me. So the fact that I did this well in this race, at least if that's the case, you know, I can go out with my head held high and all that stuff.
Well, we certainly thought you did an excellent job and just showcased a really high level of play tonight. We certainly hope we can see you again in that second play-in race, but obviously real life comes first, and that's going to be very challenging to find a time that works for all 24 people. So we certainly wish you the best of luck, but incredible show tonight. Hutfin, did you have anything that you wanted to ask JDP about? I know that Z fight was a little bit rough.
Yeah, I wanted to know, like, you mentioned, you know, having the anxiety, the shakes as you're doing that fight, just because of how close all of the timing was. But how did it feel in the fight itself? Were you concerned at all with your health? Were you concerned with Threemus picking his targets?
I would say the thing I was only concerned about really is I was expecting, because Tello was at agility 14, he was going to be a little bit slower. But I think if I had put Edge on top rather than Palom, that would have changed that a bit. He was reasonable, I guess is the best way.
Yeah, for me, like, any agility stuff that isn't set it to 1 or set it to 28 is complete mystery. So I wouldn't have known what to expect at that point.
Like Couch says, I just push buttons and hope for the best.
Well, you recovered really nicely. I know your Palom went down pretty early. And like you said, that Threemus kind of caught us by surprise how fast it was as well. But then we remembered nobody, I don't think, found a curse string in this entire seed. So everybody was kind of roughing it a little bit with that Zeromus fight to properly anchor it. And I think you had the levels that you were able to kind of weather the storm early and then just really get into the fight and not have any problems bringing it across the finish line.
I would say the Avenger Kane really pulled in the work in that fight. If not for him, I don't know what would have happened with the speed that Zeromus was going. I had enough of a buffer to recover for Palom.
So what I'm hearing is that was a 10 out of 10 treasury for you where you got the Avenger?
Oh yeah. As soon as I saw it, like I could actually picture in the back of my mind, oh, this has to be a 10. You know, Protect Ring, Avenger Sword. I think there was also a Crystal Ring in there and one or two other things where I just put them on immediately.
Yeah, it was the good stuff. That although the gear in that seed was pretty good too. We saw some Stardust Rods early. We saw an Ogre Axe, a Ninja Sword. There was all sorts of good stuff in that seed. So you weren't really hurting for items anyway, but it definitely took you to that power level that we don't usually see in a lot of these races.
Did anybody find a Crystal Sword?
Not that we saw.
And if they did, I don't think anybody found a Cecil. I don't think we saw a Cecil or a Yang in this seed.
There's one on Mount Hobbs, a Cecil.
Oh, there was a Cecil.
Nope. Nobody went to Hobbs, I guess.
I went in to get the summon, and I just sort of peeked my head up to see who was there, and then noped out pretty early on in the seed.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think there was an X-Cal or a Crystal Sword found. So yeah, no smashy Cecil giving anybody an edge in that seed.
You hate to see it.
Well, it's because Cecil was there, clearly. That's why there was no Crystal Sword. But no, JDP, any other thoughts on your race tonight? Like I said, you know, really solid from beginning to end. Just came up a little bit short in getting that spot at the table, but you just played incredibly well. Any final thoughts from you?
I thought it was an alright seed. Like I said, I can't really complain about being under a minute from qualifying for the tables. It's a bummer that, you know, real life might get in the way of the second crack at it, but if it is, if, you know, this is the end for me, at least I can say I was under a minute, you know, so I'm pretty happy overall.
Well, thanks for letting us watch your race, and thanks for doing the interview with us as well. GG's once again.
Thank you.
All right. So to wrap up with some of the other runners, Lord Bobbery did finish in 4th place overall with a time of 1:20.23. Big Dunga did end up taking another wipe and decided to forfeit. And Ikira, as we just saw, verifying where the hook was and has done a forfeit as well. We're going to see if we can get those two in to do a little debrief. Lord Bobbery has informed us that his microphone is just not working today, so he'll be declining. Looks like we do have Big Dunka and Ike here. Can you both hear us?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I know that was not the outcome that you wanted, but I gotta tell you, at points in time in that race, you both were in pretty good shape. Dunka, you were the first one in go mode. I believe you were also the first one to find the. Trying to find my notes. You were the first in go mode. For sure. I don't you were just on Lord Bobbery's heels as far as getting underground, but I mean, you were definitely in contention there until that unfortunate wipe to Zeromus. Ikira, I think you were the first to go check that Twin Harp. It didn't pay out. I think the seed maybe would have ran a little bit differently if that's where the underground access had been. So maybe we'll start with Dunka. Like, walk us through that, and what were the high points of that seed for you?
I mean, it went pretty well. I had one not horrible, but not good wipe in there before the Z fight. Kind of knew exactly what I was going to be doing. Was happy to see the Palom on the moon for my anchor, because it was going to be slightly lower than the Tela at that level. And unfortunately just caught a little bit of a high roll on that last Big Bang, and it would have been really, really close. I did the math on when the restream caught up, and Kane pushed him into phase 3 when I died. So It would have taken 4 attacks. It would have been over.
Yeah, I feel like Zeromus just did you so dirty on those fights.
It is what it is. I knew that I had to get in there early. The seed was pretty linear, so there's no cause to delay. I got Rose at a 2K and was like, gotta go, and just caught a big bang that just a little over, and that's that.
Yeah, and up until that point, I think you said like you had the one stumble. Well, at the D-Lunars, I know that you had a little bit of trouble with Rubicant the first time, but you quick reset out of that and was able to grind through it. So, not anything major there for sure. And you were definitely ahead at points in that race, from our perspective anyway. Obviously, we don't know for sure what was going on the other stream, but you played really well, and it's just too bad about that Z fight. So, Ikir, how about from your perspective? I know you kind of got a little bit off of maybe the required path there, went up to the moon, maybe still would have been in okay shape if you had found the admin or something like that. But what happened in that seed for you?
I made a few boneheaded plays. Kept thinking like, I'm going to Dwarf Castle, make sure I have warp. Don't get rid of Rydia. Don't get rid of Rydia. Ooh, there's a Rosa. Let's get rid of Rydia. And then realized afterward, Callum was one fight away from getting warp. And I was trying to do ordeals late so I could just breeze through it. So I didn't have Tella having warp either. And as we saw, that really screwed me over right there.
Yeah, that ends up being just a very I mean, it's not a terrible decision at any given time to just be like, well, this is one-off location. You know, fading any given spot is not necessarily a bad move. It just wound up biting you a fair bit.
Both that and skipping the free check at Sheila 1. I didn't have it. I would have been in the better shape, but I faded that also, thinking maybe things are on the moon. Nope. Again, I did that against in my match against somebody in the first round, in the first phase. Safety. That's what I did against. Also,
go ahead.
Yeah, make sure that your random encounters are off. I changed my screen color, and somehow I must have turned my random encounters on. So I got that fight going into the Waterfall Cave, which was completely not intended. But afterward, I thought, oh, maybe Rydia will have enough magic for her first summon then. And I still wouldn't have done that, but that was a complete mistake that I didn't even know I did.
You boosted your Rydia, that's what you were doing. No, we noticed it, but it was just kind of like, oh, well, it was probably just a mistake somewhere. No big deal. And obviously, I think you already had edge at that point, so it's not really a dangerous fight.
Right.
But I think the thing that tripped you up, and we actually saw it with Lord Bobry, I believe, as well, is not having access to that warp spell when you got underground, and that kind of keeping you away from Dwarf Castle, which then kept you away from Sheila 1 in all likelihood.
Yeah, that was the thing that got me. I mean, had I had the hook, it would have been okay, go underground. But the other thing that bit me when I went up tower was I was trying to steal sirens with a full inventory, and that doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
I kept wondering why it was failing. It's like I've never had this fail before. Completely didn't notice until the third fight when I got a new item that, oh, I have full inventory.
Oh no, yeah. That was a little thing that we missed. We didn't pick up on because of the 4 people that were racing. But we did see you do Keyless Tower, which again, like if that's where the hook had been, you would have definitely been in good position. But it just didn't. You peaked a couple spots, and they were just unfortunately not where stuff was, because it was pretty much on a more traditional path, let's say, for the seed.
I'll just take the win that I did music first.
You did do music first.
You were the champion of the people tonight. That is confirmed. So you still got another shot at it too. You got that other big plan coming up next week sometime. It's going to be a pretty big field. Based on how you played tonight, you feeling like, I'm sure you feel like you got a shot. Anybody is going to feel like they have a shot in that big of a crowd. But I mean, have you thought at all about how you're going to approach a 24-person race trying to win potentially?
I have not really thought about it, at least in a small race like this. If I can just do my thing and do it well, then I have a good shot at it. And I made mental mistakes along the way, so that sucked me. In a big race, it could reward people who make the challenging place, like going to the moon immediately. A lot of that's going to depend on what the goals are, though. And we could get jet goals. We could get find all the item goals. It's won't know until we actually start it.
You could get jet goals or goals that look like jet goals and end up being get all the item goals.
Have had one race like that already.
I mean, we absolutely thought this might be a go mode in like 15-minute seed when we saw the objectives and then when we saw the edge in the first 30 seconds. But y'all made it really interesting. That big winding path through the overworld made it pretty fun and interesting. So I think everybody had to make some good plays to get through. I know you certainly did. I remember distinctly that Kanazo fight at the Twin Harp was no joke, and you were able to get through that okay. So, I mean, lots of stuff to be happy about, I'm sure, and I hope that you have a good race next week in that other big play-in that I'm sure we're all going to be watching on one of many channels that will be helping to broadcast that, I'm sure.
Well, thank you, and thank you everybody for commentating and streaming and tracking. Appreciate all the work you guys do.
All right, and thank you for letting us watch your race tonight, and GG's once again.
Thanks. Good night.
And thank you to everyone who has come in to watch as well. I believe we are going to send it over to Randomania after this.
Yeah, they're doing their Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide weekly race, so we're going to send you on over there. Everybody's done on RPG Limit Break as well, so we are all done with Free Enterprise for the night. Just want to remind everybody that on Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern will be the first Magma Group play-in, which should be really good. We will have another double broadcast for that one, I'm pretty sure. We're going to have 5 runners vying for 4 spots, so it's almost the exact opposite of tonight. It's going to be the last place person that does not get in. But yeah, Friday night, we're figuring out exactly how we want to take care of that, but it'll be good times. I know I'll be watching. Hupfin, you gonna be watching that one?
Oh, absolutely.
That'll be great. And then next week we are going to have the other 2. We'll call them the Hook 2 and the Magma 2 play-ins, which are going to be everybody's last chance. It's kind of like the do or die runs for everybody that is still in those races. So we got a couple really exciting races still coming up these next few weeks, and then it's on to the tables. So pretty exciting time. We got Twisted Flax through tonight. Big GGs to Twisted Flax, joining a bunch of other people at the table for the next round of the Highway to the Threemus Zone. We still got 8 more spots to give out over this next week and a half or so.
Yep, but for now, we'll thank you all again for watching. Thank again our behind-the-scenes group, Bursic Badger and Bad Karma, taking care of the tracking on that rather rapid seed, and Zoe Vermillion handling the restream. And as always, a huge thanks to the runners themselves for participating and giving us this great content. JDP, Aikir, Lord Bobry, Big Dunka, big thanks to all of them. And as always to my co-commentator, Moonblaze Wolf. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Likewise, Hupfin, absolutely. This was a lot of fun. I hope everybody had fun watching the race tonight. We're going to send you on over to Randomania now. Take care, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you on Friday for more Free Enterprise. Bye-bye.